I didn't know anything about prostate cancer. I didn't know anything about a PSA test, and I didn't know anything about a blood test.
It felt very surreal. It was as if he was talking about somebody else.
I knew, just that moment came, I knew I had cancer.
When it's your turn, you know, you can't step aside and let somebody else have it. You have to, you really have to face it.
So to me, prostate cancer was always something to be aware of in your 70s and 80s and things like that. I never thought, I was 53 at the time, I never thought prostate cancer would be anything to do with me at that point in time. I don't recall any sort of early warning signs or anything like that.
I got quite a shock when we sat down. He basically said, look, we did 12 biopsies, and he said 3 of them were malignant. And he suggested that if I waited any longer to do something about it, that it would spread very quickly. So time was of the essence.
Because my family have a history of cholesterol problems, I was having blood tests from my mid-40s. It eventually got to a level where she felt it can't be ignored anymore. And she sent me to a specialist for further investigations. So I was asked to come back to get the results 4 weeks after the biopsy, but I actually got a call to come in a week early, which was a bit of a warning sign for me. I thought, But I turned up anyway, and the urologist gave me the news then that I had had a cancer diagnosis.
You're lonely at night when you're thinking about your kids, your grandkids, you're thinking about your wife. It helped big time to talk. I didn't shut it in. I didn't keep it to myself. I got support from my wife. My children understood and didn't get panicky about me having cancer.
It was probably one of the most difficult days I've ever had in my life to tell them that, yes, I had cancer. And potentially it was life-threatening.
I didn't tell anyone, I didn't phone anyone. I got into my car and started driving. And I sort of drove for about 3 or 4 hours. I suppose you're thinking about what is possible, can you get better, how quickly it might take, what's the chances of success, who do I tell, how do I tell them.
I remember when I came out, I couldn't talk to my dad. But then he knew I couldn't talk because he'd experienced this sensation and feeling himself 10 years previously, you know. So we literally drove home in the car and never said a word to one another. I just dropped him at his house, he gave me a hug, and I came home. I've had to phone Selena to tell her my mum died, I've had to phone Selena to tell her my father died, but I didn't know whether I was going to die or not, you know. That was hard.
For a few weeks, my worry was I going to live or was I not going to live? Because that's the worry you have with cancer. And once I got that out of the way, the next issue was about the operation. I learned an awful lot about what was ahead of me and what has to happen. Incontinence, possible erectile dysfunction. I was worried at the time, not thinking that I would get back to normality, but that has happened, which is excellent.
I was lucky in the fact that robotic surgery was available to me. So that was just 2 nights in hospital, and it was a cold time of the year. Within a week I was building snowmen in the garden, so luckily it was quite a quick recovery.
A lot of cancers today, so we hear on the television and the radio, whatever, is curable, it's livable with. And if we're able to get it in time, that will mean the difference, possibly of life and death, or possibly of how well you're able to deal with the cancer in the future.
The stress that it put on my family, every single member of my family, was absolutely huge. And I think people forget that, because it's all about the person who has the disease. My daughter in particular said to me that she had been worried that from day one and right up until I got the all clear, so for a 12-month period, she had been stressed about me dying. And that was gut-wrenching when she told me. And the way to avoid it is for people to go and get early detection. And the way you do that is very, very simple.
Listen to your body, first of all. Don't ignore any changes. Speak to your GP. That's what they're there for. They have the knowledge. But even if you haven't got symptoms, as I didn't, having a simple blood test, it costs nothing compared with the potential return. And get it done regularly. It's absolutely a no-brainer.
Just go do it. You know, for me, for yourself, for your partners, your family, your kids, your dogs, get your prostate tested.